Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, who their shows, notes, lasers, peasants, fastest minions, meat sex. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And today I want to go back to Syria because as I did a video about, I think about October 20th, and at that time the Assad regime, the government regime in Syria, in Damascus, had significantly upticked its airstrikes against opposition, obviously taking advantage of current U.S. foreign policy to strike ISIS positions in Syria. And so at the time, that was escalation enough. But as we are where we are at now, is reaching the point of the ridiculous, because now, in the past 10 days, we have the Syrian Air Force conducting 762 airstrikes. And that's about 3 times the total number of airstrikes by the United States in Syria. And of the 300 strikes by so-called coalition forces inside Syria, 200 of those have been around Kobani. So we have a serious uptick, and it's quite noticeable to the point where United States Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has even acknowledged that Assad is taking advantage of this situation. But it should come as no surprise, because national security advisors were warning of this very possibility. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like it's just being ignored. And the rebels or what's left, the remnants of the Free Syrian Army, have been pleading for U.S. help. And now they're saying that on top of the fact that there's been 762 airstrikes against opposition in Syria, but we've also had the 750 killed in the last week. And Syria's launched offensives in Hama, Damascus, and Aleppo, some of these main points of contention. And incidentally, apparently 150 Free Syrian Army are now arriving in Kobani as well to help bolster the Kurds there. So kind of an interesting development. The Free Syrian Army now is trying to score some points with their Western masters by helping in Kobani. But a couple of recent developments are going to make this whole dynamic all the more interesting. One is a story that my friend John Barleycorn sent me about upwards of 70 to 80 Syrian army officers have reportedly been beheaded. A combined effort by al-Nusra Front and ISIS had taken over a government headquarters and captured these soldiers and has reportedly beheaded them. I'll attach the story below. And then we also have the fact that ISIS and al-Nusra combined in attacks in other areas, including on the Free Syrian Army. And this is a direct result of the fact that the United States decided when they were going to do airstrikes in Syria that they would not only hit ISIS positions, they would also hit al-Nusra Front positions. And they thought they were, al-Nusra Front had come to think that they were the good guys because they were fighting the Assad government. So now we have al-Nusra Front combining with ISIS to take on their United States-backed representatives, the Free Syrian Army, and this could possibly be a trend as a result of U.S. foreign policy choices. So now, and let's remember that as of April, there was a split between ISIS and al-Nusra, and they haven't really combined their efforts since. So this would be a big development. And another part of this is the fact that we would have the Free Syrian Army would now have 3-front war, and that doesn't seem very smart considering U.S. foreign policy there, because now Free Syrian Army will be fighting the al-Nusra Front, the Free Syrian Army will be fighting ISIS, and the Free Syrian Army will be fighting the Assad government. And that's a lot to chew on. And as I mentioned earlier, and I've brought up in other videos, this whole timetable issue, the United States talks about somehow training and arming a Free Syrian Army in the next year that's supposedly going to take on the Assad government inside a country that's increasingly dominated by ISIS, and yet we have these events unfolding in days, weeks, and months. It doesn't seem like the issue has a year. Like I say, we have this Syrian government now, 762 airstrikes in the last 10 days, and theoretically upwards of 750 killed, including many Free Syrian Army forces. Will there be any Free Syrian Army forces left when it gets time for the United States to find somebody to train and arm? It certainly doesn't look like it at this pace. And then, as I mentioned, with the beheadings, if this story it gets confirmed that these Syrian officers were beheaded, then we're going to see the government in Damascus and the Assad government directing quite a bit more of their efforts towards bombing ISIS as well. So while the United States is busy taking on ISIS, protecting Kobani, we have the rest of Syria as a playground for Assad and government forces to retake a lot of main objectives and unleash massive airstrikes against the opposition and obliterating the opposition while the United States focuses in on ISIS, which incidentally is another component and the most successful component of Assad's opposition. So in some weird way, we got the United States and Assad now joining in a massive air blitz against all the opposition against the Assad government in Syria. Strange turn of events. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.